Welcome to Gulfstream today, and welcome to Gulfstream Park. Ron Nicoletti, along with Acacia Courtney, want to take a moment here to wish everyone a happy 4th of July on America's birthday.
Yes, a happy Independence Day. We're happy that you're joining us here today for a special 4th of July racing today. We have 10 races today. Should be a really fun one. Got another beautiful day, and we have our patriotic colors on today.
Yeah, we're all ready to go.
We're ready to go.
The name of the stake a little later on is the Betsy Ross, so we got this theme going on here. You know, everybody have a lot of fun and enjoy the day. And we're going to start the day with a fast main track, firm turf course. And we're going to have in the first race today our rolling super high five starting right there. And at any race with 7 horses or more, we have the rolling super high fives. A couple of them paid very, very nicely yesterday. Also in race 1, we got Acacia's pick 5, early pick 5. Acacia hit both her pick 5 yesterday. First one paid really nice. $300 plus, and the second one paid. But it was
and
a
you came out in the green.
It was
That's
out
what
in the
matters.
green. It was out in the green. Then today with a 10-race card, the Rainbow Six starts in race number 5, and we got we're getting near $10,000. That'll skyrocket. They bet over $40,000. It was hit 2 days ago for $66,000. They bet over $40,000 in yesterday. So I'm sure that they'll have at least that in it. And then we end the day with our final pick 5 of the afternoon, and that is races 6 through 10. So lots of fun here. Sultry day in South Florida, 90-degree temperatures, fast main track, firm turf course. First race is 1 mile on that fast main track. Maiden claim is 3 and up, $10,000. 7 runners, no scratches, no jockey changes. And now we'll take a look at Acacia's ticket.
I'll give you a peek at my ticket. Wasn't able to find a single again today, but still keeping it affordable, $48. I went too deep in this first leg with the 4 Feronius and the 5 Gunther Brothers. I think that these look to be the 2 logical ones to me. The deepest one that I went in was race number 2, went 4 deep, and then 3, 2, and 2 to round out the early pick 5.
Very affordable ticket, and like I said, if you were following yesterday, you got 300 plus back with that first one. So current favorite up there right now early in the wagering is the number 5 Gunther Brothers, and not one of the horses I did use in the first race. I just wanted to go a different race way here in the opener, and I didn't think this horse would be the favorite, but very early in the wagering. Let's hear why you used number 5 Gunther Brothers.
Well, I think that you can put a line through the most recent race. That was trying the turf. It was 7.5 furlongs against 12.5 maidens, beating it by 10 lengths before that. If you look at the 2 starts prior to that, which is what I was really looking at, 2 solid third-place finishes there, and yes, 0 for 4 at this distance, 0 for 27 in lifetime starts, but I think that sometimes horses, it just looks like they're knocking on the door for a little while. They're due to get that win. It's all about finding that right spot and who else shows up in the competition, and I think that the race could set up for Gunther Brothers to either sit just off of the pace or do some late running and get that win today.
Yeah, going turf to dirt. I just didn't like the record of, all those losses, so I tried to go a different way. And of course, that you used on your ticket in second. It's not that I found this unbelievable long shot in there, and that's the 4 Feronius, who I think finds the perfect spot to get the elusive maiden victory after showing good tactical speed and finishing 3rd and 2nd respectively in back-to-back races at this level and distance. And this was my speed play in here. I just thought this horse could be tactically placed. Does not have to be on the lead, and that's why I was leaning that way. The other horse, Gunther Brothers, I want to watch another race before I put him on my ticket, but I could be wrong because they're betting him like he's one of the horses to run well in here. But once again, very early in the wagering. Now, in your second spot, you used my 4 horse in there, and we both had the number 2 horse on the ticket, Mr. Pumpkin.
Mr. Pumpkin, who really looks to be the speed today. Broke from an outside post last time out, so we'll get some post relief today. Hasn't been able to finish in the money yet out of 5 starts, but I think stretching out now in distance. Has never run in the mile on the main track before, so that's a little bit of an unknown as well, but has been keeping some decent form on the turf, and I think that the stretch stretch out with that speed play. The only other horse that I could see being up there with him is Ferronia. So
Right.
provided that they don't get in a pace duel, that's kind of what I was thinking, that these two horses might go forward and Gunther Brothers would set the trip.
Yeah, you know, Mr. Pumpkin carved out fractions of 22 and 2, 45 and 3 last time out, prior to fading in that $10,000 maiden test going 5.5 furlongs. So you would think he would be on the pace, but he's got a lot of that chandelier in him. So I just thought that maybe before we get the a better trip in there, and you know, it's just trying to figure out how this first race of the day is going to play pace-wise.
Yeah. And I see what you did there, Mr. Pumpkin carving out fractions.
I want to mention one horse before we turn the page. Silver Vest is dropping to the $10,000 level, going to the main track. He got pushed out at the start, finishing 6th behind a repeat upset winner. And this is why I want to mention that horse's name, Weezer Gone Gray, in a $16,000 maiden test going a mile. That was my long shot in 2 separate occasions. Once he paid $101. The other day he paid $46 or whatever it was. And this horse ran behind him. So I think that maybe if that turns out to be the key race, I think it is, well, throw this one on the ticket. Weezer Gone Gray, boy, he's been really good to me. So
#1 fan right here.
yeah. Let's go to race number 2 this afternoon. 5 furlongs. We're going to the turf. As I mentioned, the turf course is firm this afternoon. Claimers, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, non-winners of 2 in life for 3-year-olds, $30,000 down to $25,000. 7 runners in the field. We got our exacta flip-flop. You started it with the number 7, Miss World Venezuela, who I believe is 2-1 on the morning line.
2-1 on the morning line. I could totally see the number 6 Zero Out, who you put on top, winning again. She's 2 for 2 so far, but I decided to go with the horse that looked to be a little bit more tested. Ran against $30,000 claimers last time out after dropping to this level. Had run a pretty respectable 5th behind a couple of next out winners against $50,000 optional claimers before trying that 30 last time out. Finished 2nd, beaten just by a length and a quarter behind a horse named Summer Ray. And I think that this horse is spotted well today and looking for that good win.
Yeah, she stalked pretty swift fractions last time out. She was the odds-on choice, so she did not get the job done in there. And you're right, this is an exacta box play. I think here, and the other horse we're alluding to is the 6 Zero Out. Stepping up the competition after staying undefeated when following her debut maiden victory at the $10,000 maidens on the main track, comes back, runs a front-running score against 10,000, 2 lifetime claimers on the turf. It's Wesley Ward, apprentice John Cruz, going for 3 in a row. They go back turf dirt, and this is Wesley Ward's angle, so I just thought it was the logical choice. But I'm going exacta box in there.
Absolutely, and with Zero Out, last time out, her first time on the turf, really fast fractions. They went 20 and 4, 44 to the half, so very fast. She was able to maintain that speed even after bobbling a little bit at the start, but she's stepping up in class now, as you mentioned, and I thought with Miss World Venezuela, being able to stalk that pace a bit.
Yeah, and the other horse we used, the 4 on my wish list, is making a career turf debut after following her 8.5 length victory. Was at 12-5 level. Comes back at 30,000, 2 lifetime claimer score going. I think that was on May 6th. Daughter Flatter has done nothing wrong yet.
Nothing wrong yet, and she has some turf pedigree as well. She's trying the turf for the first time. She's a half-2, a stakes winner who won on the turf. Stylish Citizen, another stakes winner. Ultimate Question, who also won on the turf. So looks like she's poised for a good surface switch.
Well, let's go to race number 3, and this one race happens to be named for jockey of the recently concluded spring meet, Emiciel Jaramillo. Congratulations to him. And it's 1 mile on claimers on the main track, 3 and up, non-winners of 3 races in life, or 3-year-olds. We do have a scratching here of the number 2 horse, Sixth Man.
Yes, Sixth Man is the scratch, and that looked to be one of the main speed horses in this race to me. We both went with the number 3, Cold Blood, on top, who likes to sit just off the pace. So depending who ends up going to the front, I think that the 6, Some Midnight Star, might show a bit of early pace as well. But that'll depend on how Cold Blood ends up running here today. Dropping to this level, finished 3rd against 12-5 last time out. Had a nice victory at that level, 2 back on a good track. So we'll see if the drop can help too.
Yeah, I mean, the only concern you have with the 3 Cold Blood, if you look at its previous record at this distance, 0 for 2. So, you know, stretching out to the mile today. Still thought he was the logical choice on top of the ticket. You went with the number 4, Manny Blue Boy, in second.
I mean, going to go back and show the most recent race for this horse. That was back on June 11th. Coming out of the final turn, you see he's the gray there, the number 4 that day. Actually, as they're rounding the turn, he's off the screen. It looks like he's not going to be able to do any running. You see there's about 4 horses there, and they're drifting a bit. He stayed clear. Still didn't really look like he was going to end up getting there. He ends up passing horses. A very game performance. He ended up finishing 3rd that day. He's first off the claim, but he's claimed back for connections that lost him to a claim last time. I always like that angle when they want to claim a horse back.
Well, you know, we talked about Cold Blood, 0 for 2 at the distance. Well, if you look at Manny Blue Boy, he's got 17 races at this distance. Only 1 win, 4 seconds and 6 thirds. I threw in the 6 in here, Cheech Thunder in second, who's shortening up to 1 turn mile after rewarding his back is when he rallied to defeat 6,250 condition claimers. He was the big favorite that day, and that was going a 2-turn race, a mile and a 16. 1 mile races here around 1 turn.
Yeah, and he's 0 for 6 at a mile, so that seems to be one of the themes here today. I went with the number 7, Giannino from the Leo Aspora barn. Cornelio Velasquez is going to be aboard. I got slammed at the start last time out and finished behind Manny Blue Boy and a next out winner, Flashing Cat. So I think you put a line through that race, 1 at a mile, 2 back.
Well, a pretty wide open affair there, especially at that 1 mile distance. Let's go to race number 4. Go back. This one will be 5 furlongs on the turf. Maiden claim is 3 and up, $12,500. 8 runners in this race with no scratches or jockey changes. And you started it off with the number 7, It's My Valentino.
Well, this one is going back over to the turf. He's 0 for 3 on the turf, and I know that that's a little bit of a question mark, but really looks to be one of the speed horses in here and taking a rather big drop in class. Ran against $25,000 maidens last time. Going to drop to the 12.5 level today. Been working very strongly coming in, so I'm hoping that he can take that form and that speed over to the turf.
Yeah, I mean, he's stretching, as you mentioned, you know, he had this level of competition going 2 turns at 7.5 furlongs. So looks like a logical choice. I got him on the ticket, but I did go with the number 2, the horse that you have in second on top, and that is number 2, Wadi. Finds the perfect spot to shed the maiden tag after hitting the board in 2 of 4 races, going 5 furlongs on the turf. Steve Dwoskin, apprentice John Cruz in the saddle.
Yeah, he flattened out a bit last time, which was one of the concerns I had for me. He hit the board, as you mentioned, a couple of times in his starts, but he's one that has the late kick, and I'm not really sure how much he'll have to run at.
Yeah, and what about number 7 in here?
Well, number 7 was my top selection, Key the Storm, that we were just talking about. He's the one that's going to be dropping and trying the turf once again. So I put Wadi on there in second. We both used the number 3, Contractor Jack, who is trying the turf for the first time. First off the claim, moving over into the barn of Giuseppe Iadiscerni. I want to give you a stat on that trainer with first-time turf horses in maiden claiming events. 5 for 30, about 17% win, 11 for 30, 37% in the money, and a 390 ROI, so a pretty good ROI over there. So this sire, El Corredor, is about 13% with 3-year-olds and older on the turf. So we'll see how this horse does his first time on the turf.
Yeah, no, he hasn't been in action since he was claimed for $25,000, going 6 furlongs in the main track. In that race, he was eased as the favorite, you know, coming back. Good barn, you know, is there concern? I thought he'd be a little higher price in the morning line than second choice at 5 to 2 because of what happened last time. But would not be shocked at all if this horse won the race. So selections in here for Acacia, 7, 2, 3, me 2, 4, and 3. We'll see how that works out. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll show you my Rainbow 6 ticket this afternoon. We're back for race number 5 this afternoon. 1 mile claimer, 3-year-olds and up, non-winners of 2 races in life, $6,250. We're going to scratch the number 4 horse, and there's Yugiton. And please note the jockeying on the 5 will be Sammy Camacho, who's been riding in good form.
2 wins yesterday.
Yeah, he'll be on the 5 horse this afternoon. And as I mentioned, we'll show you my Rainbow 6 ticket right now. And there you see it. 2 deep, 2 deep, 3, 3, 2, and 3. You do not see a single. We were talking before we came on the air. Very, very tough sequence. $43.20, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, approaching $10,000 in the Rainbow Six pool. What'd you use on top here?
Well, I went with the number 3 Sugar Dandy on top. I can totally understand using the 8 Papa Pig as well, and I went back and forth between these two. And the reason I went with the 3 on top, switching back over to the main track, tried the turf last time out and was pretty well beaten that day. But if you go 2 back, had a mile of victory for his maiden win, and that was against $10,000 maidens. That was a win by 3.5. He's the speed in here, or one of the speed horses for sure. And I think that the drop-in class and just poised in a good spot here to get another
I
win.
mean, yeah, logically. So he's the one to beat. He's the morning line favorite, 8-5 or whatever it is on the morning line. But I did go with number 8, Papa Pig, on top of my ticket, who's stretching out to 1-turn mile again. We're going to show you its last race, albeit it was on the wet track. But I just thought the way this horse closed, he was 12 lengths back, and you'll see him right there, just comes flying on the outside. You know, the close, and he just keeps coming. And now he gets pushed out here, almost gets knocked off stride, and he just keeps running. And I just thought after performing, that was going 7 furlongs, as I mentioned, was on the sealed sloppy track, but he just kept running. He was way back, and I just thought after performance in here, if Sugar Dandy is not up to the task, look at him coming here, Papa Pig, he really ran exceptionally well in here. You're going to have to see if you can translate that to a fast main track today, but I don't think it'd be that far back.
I don't think so either. I certainly wouldn't be able to in this field. There's not an abundance of speed. Another horse that I do think will be on the front end, though, is the number 2 Cool Ruler, who broke his maiden last time out at the mile. That was against $10,000 maiden claimers. First time gelding now, and we had that win by 2.5 after keeping some pretty good form, so could be one to bounce back nicely.
Yeah, he was the 4-5 favorite that day, and he won in hand. So, I mean, he's stepping up, and he's not, jumping way up. He's going to the next logical level, and really good performance last time out. And as you mentioned, listed as a gelding this afternoon. So we're sort of agreement in here. We got our exact flip-flop, but horses that I used on my Rainbow Six ticket, so I'm glad to see that. Let's go to race number 6 this afternoon, 1 mile and 1/16th on the turf. Claimers, 3-year-olds and up with non-winners of 3 races in life, or 3-year-olds, $10,000. Jockey changed the report on here on the number 9, make the rider Lionel Reyes. And you went with the horse I have in third, and that's the number 6, Run Saichi. And did you use that one singled on your ticket?
Not singled, but we'll give you a peek at my ticket today. It's going to be a little bit more this afternoon, $54. Wasn't able to find a single once again. If you can cut back on any of those races, here's just a little guide for you. I thought, just kind of to echo what you were saying, a very tough sequence here. It's hard to cross off horses that you think might be sitting on a winning performance or might be dropping into the right spot. So I decided to keep a couple more on. $54 here today for me, 3 deep in this first leg.
Yeah, I think you're doing the exact right thing, because I was, as we said, ad nauseum, that was a really tough sequence, and it really, really is. Now, number 6, Run Saichi, a horse I do have on my ticket, is stepping up today to that next logical level.
Stepping up a little bit. Won last time out. What I like a lot about this horse, 4 for 5 in the money at this distance. It's mile and a 16th distance. 2 wins out of 5 starts, a second and a third. And one of those wins was the most recent one. It was on a good turf, yes, but ended up winning by a neck. Has a really good late kick and had 2 second-place finishes prior to that against 12-5 claimers at a mile and a mile 16th. So I think sitting on another good performance.
Yeah, the horse I put on top, you have in second. That is number 9, Quite the Issue. He's dropping to the $10,000 level. He followed his 16,002 lifetime victory, going 7.5 furlongs. That was back on May 20th with a stalk and fade 6th place showing, but that was against $16,000 condition claimers, going a mile in the 16th last time out. We mentioned the trainer in the last race, Giuseppe Sadernia. He has Lionel Reyes in the saddle today, and they hooked up for a win yesterday, I believe.
Absolutely. And, this is certainly going to be a logical horse. My concern for this one was the distance. 0 for 6 at a mile and a 16th. Had that nice win 2 back, as you mentioned, but that was at 7.5. Stretched out last time, needed more in the stretch, and I wonder if this just might be a little bit too long for him. He might prove me wrong for sure, but I was going for a horse that had a better record at this distance.
Well, the morning line favorite in here, number 4, Zippy Zape, is stretching out to a mile and a 16th. This horse has had 8 races at the distance with a win, a second, and a third. He rallied 4 wide to come within a half length of notching this condition, going 7.5 furlongs on a firm firm course, stretching out to a distance where he's had success. Morning line favorite. I just thought I'd throw this one somewhere on the ticket. I'm not enamored that with him in there, but I think to cover myself, I put him on my ticket.
I had the same mindset about this horse that I did about, or that you had about the 4 that I did about the 1, Starship Frontier, who stretched out to a mile and a 16th last time out and finished third once again. The last 3 starts were third place finishes. Had a win prior to that. It was at the mile and the 16th. Also dropped to this level last time and was beaten about 2 lengths. Diaz was the winner that day. Diaz won again yesterday, so behind a repeat winner coming out of a little bit of a key race, it might be sitting on a good performance.
And then, yeah, number 1, certainly your third choice on the morning line. So one of those races where you can go a lot of different ways. You see it different ways, and thus the big tickets we have this afternoon. Race number 7 is a 1-mile claiming event, 3-year-olds and up, $6,250. And this one I found very hard. I think Storm Warnings, the horse you have on top, is the right one, but it's still looking for its first victory this year.
I know, and that was one of the hard things. This is, I thought, one of the toughest races here because the big question mark is where is the speed going to come from? I thought it will probably come from the number 8, Big Blue Nation. I threw him on there because of that. Storm Warnings, second last time out after having to go really wide. Third prior to that after having no room to run. So hopefully this horse just gets a clean trip and can maybe get to the winner's circle. 43 starts so far.
I had a tough time with this race, so I went with a horse that has some recency to it that won, and that's the 2 Strongbow. I think in a good position to make it 2 in a row. He bit his time early, stayed behind the pace early on. He closed late. He sprang a 14-1 upset at this level and distance. So I'm thinking maybe with all his suspect and maybe no pace in front of him, somebody's got to go to the lead, and maybe he sits the trip behind, and it's a wide open affair.
Yes, it definitely is. We both used the number 4, Amase, who has Luca Panici in the saddle, now second off the claim, moving back over to the main track. Luca Panici been riding in great form lately.
Yeah, this one is dropping to the level on the dirt. He's got 8 races at this distance, 2 wins and a third. He retained from the layoff. He finished that useful 6th versus 10 claimers going 5 furlongs on the turf. You mentioned Luca Panici. I think it's a horse you got to save with. You got to have it right on your ticket, which you do.
Absolutely. Again, a really wide open race.
Well, our feature race of the afternoon, 7 1/2 furlongs on the turf, 3-year-old filly, $75,000 guaranteed. And as we mentioned on Independence Day, it is the Betsy Ross. But I've got some scratches we need to tell you about in here. We're going to scratch the 2 Beautiful Woman, the 7 Pillowcase, the 8 Scats Empire, the 10 She Takes Heart, 11 Sharp Kitty, the morning line favorite, and the main track only, number 13, has also been scratched out of that race. And a wide open affair now.
Oh, yes. Well, this was a tough race after scratches to handicap because you just don't really know how the race is going to set up after that. I was a fan of Sharp Kitty on top to come back. This was the winner of the Christmas Past. Thought I could win the Christmas Past and maybe the Betsy Ross too. A little bit of a holiday play there. But instead, I decided to go with the number 3 Pancake, who is very well tested in stakes company. And also well tested at this 7.5 distance on the turf. 7 starts, 3 wins, and a second. It's been a while since this horse has made it back over to the winner's circle. The last win came at the fairgrounds back in February. Has had a couple of stakes bids recently at Gulfstream that hasn't been able to get to the winner's circle. Tried the dirt in the Royal Palm last time out. Coming back over to the turf, I think that this is where she's going to feel comfortable. I think that this race might set up for her well now. She has a little bit of speed. And the barn, Ronnie Warner, he's been picking up a lot of steam lately.
Yeah, very good. Arundel is the owner's, the farm that it comes off in, ridden by Emissy El Jaramillo, so you can't go wrong there. And that's a pretty good pick. But I love a horse in here today after the scratches, and that's the number 4, Andrea's Reward, coming back to 7.5 furlongs after. I thought a solid return. That was in the 1 mile Amelia Island, in which she finished the 5th behind a couple of horses there. One called Susie B, and the other one called Pink Poppy. That was in the Spooks Express. And what happened? Pink Poppy from the Arundel barn. Ronnie Werner went wire to wire. Susie B finished second on Saturday. So off that performance, coming off the layoff with the scratch of the morning line favorite, the logical contenders. This one 12-1 on the morning line, second off the bench. You was flattered by those 2 horses who come back, ran very well on Saturday in the Spooks Express. So this is where I'm going with the number 4, and that is Adriana's Reward.
Yeah, Andrea's Reward. I can certainly see that they thought enough of this horse to put her in the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf.
Right.
So she certainly had some big expectations on her. So we'll see if she can get back to the turf winner circle here. I know you've been a fan.
Yeah, and now the number 5 on there, I think, is the one that looks like the one to beat with these scratches, and that's Temple Fur.
Absolutely. Second in the Christmas Pass last time out. 2 Sharp Kitty, 2 for 3 at this distance. Before that second place finish last time out, had 2 wins in a row as the favorite. So she's cutting back in distance now to 7.5 furlongs. Again, she has a good record there.
Yeah, and the big concern was, when the morning line favorite was in there, this horse I had in, second or third in there, but because of that fact, now she moves to the top of the list. I mean, she still got to prove it on the course, but Temple Fur, one of the horses you have to pay attention to with the scratch of Sharp Kitty. Now, another horse I like in here is First Illusion, who's cutting back to this 7.5 furlong distance after returning from a freshening, went up, set the pace, weakened, finished 4th behind Susie B, and that was in that race I was talking to you, the Amelia Island. So this one, I believe, is the pace, going to try and steal it on the front end.
Absolutely. And another horse that has some speed is the number 6 Tiffany Case that I kind of threw on as a little bit of a guest play. Ran over at Mountaineer on the turf for the first time last time out, won by 6. The only stake that she's ever run in was on the dirt over at Mahoning Valley, so it's kind of hard to look at her and compare her to the kind of competition that she'll be running against today. But honestly, hasn't ever run a bad step yet. She's been the favorite in all 4 of her starts. Trainer Eric Reed, so we'll see how she transfers over coming today and gets Eddie Castro aboard.
Yeah, and I think with the scratch in that race, it becomes a great betting race, to try and figure out how this whole thing's going to play out with the logical choice, scratching out this afternoon. 9th race is a 6 furlong claimer, 3 and up. Non-winners of 2 in life for 3-year-olds, $16,000. 1 scratch in the report, and that's the inside horse, number 1, Grand Lord. You went to the outside with a horse that has some recency and a win, and there is a Corrick heavy team.
Yeah, I kind of went off of the recency thing, as you said. Finished second in his debut, then came back to win, went wire to wire, finished ahead of a next out winner named Norman's Hero last time out, won by half a length. That was 5.5 furlongs. So getting a little bit of a stretch out now to the 6 furlongs and the first start against winners. Matt Rispoli is going to be in the saddle, but I think off of those 2 performances from this horse, looks like well poised to put up another good one.
Yeah, the concern again, what's me now with the scratching the inside of the one horse will help this horse was the outside post. I mean, I understand, using him on the ticket. I didn't go that way because I just thought the outside post and off that recent win. But I did go with a horse that you have on your ticket. That's 1 million, who's turning back to 3/4 of a mile after following his 16 maiden score, going 6.5. I thought he ran a well-meant second, and that was against this level of competition, going 7/8 of a mile, which is 7 furlongs. Turn back. I think this one fits perfectly in there. 1 million. I don't know if he's second choice on the morning line.
4-1 on the morning line, and had Amisel Jaramillo aboard the last 2 starts. John Cruz will be aboard today, and I think I agree with you that this one is going to be positioned well for this distance and this level. My concern, second last time out as the favorite, was clearly second best behind Game Prize, and really had a very key race in the debut, came back to win and break his maiden nicely. Again, that's second after showing some speed last time, so kind of the concerns that you had about the 10, I have about the 9, so we'll see if either of them can do some good running today.
Well, 2 Starship Apaches turning back a half furlong today.
Turning back a half furlong, which might be the key. The last 3 races have been second place finishes. A little bit of seconditis here for this Starship Apache here. 9-2 on the morning line. Luca Panici in the saddle. Steve Dwoskin is the trainer, and this one will sit nicely behind the speed.
Well, we're going to give you a little homework to do here. This one is turning back that half furlong after surrendering a late lead when finishing second to 3rd race participant, Cold Blood, going 6.5 furlongs last time out. Got to watch that earlier race. You got to mark down, see how that horse run, and then maybe you moved Starship Apache up or down on your ticket. So see how Cold Blood runs in race number 3. The other horse I used on my ticket in second is Bucate, number 8. Is cutting back to this distance we're talking about, 3/4 of a mile. After stalking the pace and finishing 3rd, I thought against a notch tougher, 16,000 condition claimer going 6.5 furlongs. That was a sealed track. Listed as good. Didn't think it ran that badly last time out, and I thought I'd throw this one on the ticket.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. The last 3 races, I wasn't enamored with them. now getting a second race at this level. So this class might be the right spot for this horse and may be able to run better than what we've seen.
Well, race number 10 this afternoon, 1 mile on the turf, maiden special weight, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. We're going to scratch the 4 Alpine Sky, which was my best bet today, and that was my single in all the things. It's not going to happen today. I also scratched the 5 Tiz Boa. Note the jockeying on the 6 is now Carlos Olivero. Blinkers off. That weight will be 118 pounds. Cancel the apprentice allowance, and I only have one of the 2 also eligible scratch now. The main track only is number 13. Pete Aiello will update you. How'd you see this race?
Well, it looks like we are all over the place here. My form is just totally marked out with this race. I thought that this is, especially now with those notable scratches, as you mentioned, I went with the number 7, Dixieland Dudes on top, who's going to be stretching out in distance and trying the turf for the first time, but had 2 very solid performances so far, both in maiden special weight company at the 6 furlongs, a third in her debut, and then came back and finished second, coming up the rail last time out. She sits really nicely behind the pace, has a very nice stalking ability, and I think with the stretch out has some ability to be a little bit more forwardly placed as well. Luca Panici going to be aboard once again.
I went with the 11 who you have on your ticket on top, Nautical Ender, stretching out to a mile after showing speed and fading late. That was in back-to-back races going 5 furlongs on the outside. A couple of scratches to the inside. This one's going to be running and gunning and either be on or near the pace this afternoon. And the barn has been going great. David Fox. I just thought I'd go with that horse. Eddie Castro will be in the saddle today.
This one's a $575,000 daughter of Super Saver. As you mentioned, the barn going very well. This one was 12-1 on the morning line. I actually wanted her on my top 3 even before the scratches. So a very interesting horse here. As you mentioned, will definitely be on or near the lead.
Well, number 2, Annabella Princess, cutting back to a mile today after a solid return to action in which she stalked the pace. Finished third against the same caliber competition, going a mile in the 16. Gustavo Delgado has Jesus Rios in the saddle, and I thought this is a horse that fits too.
Well, I think so. And this one's 0 for 7 so far, a $300,000 daughter of Kitten's Joy. So definitely bred for the turf there, but hasn't been able to get to the winner's circle. Only hit the board once in that most recent start. So that was a bit of a concern for me. I took a little bit of another gamble and went to the rail with the 1 Sunshine Melody, who's a first-time starter for the Ralph Nix barn. He has 2 firsters in here, also has the number 9 Sweet Parang. And yes, the rail is going to be a bit of a struggle for this one, but working very nicely. Cornelio Velasquez in the saddle.
Well, let me tell you about the number 6 in here, Freedom March, making her North American debut for trainer Marta Wilson with Lasix added. After failing to show much in those 2 sprint races in Great Britain, going 6 furlongs, she has a series of strong local workouts, including a half-mile bullet on June 20th. That was 47-2 in preparation for her American debut on Independence Day.
Yeah, Freedom March. If there ever was a hunch play bet, I think it would be this one. A little bit ironic that she's a Great Britain bred, but still has the good name.
I love the work tab on this and mention that's where the jockey change comes to Carlos Olivero, 118 pounds. That's how we see the July 4th card, and we're expecting lots of fireworks when our track announcer Pete Aiello gets up here.
Yes, happy Independence Day. Good luck today.